What's up, everybody? Ramey here, or otherwise known as Dr. Ray. Today we are talking about ranking instructional design programs. Like, what are the best ones? Where should you go to school, or what kind of course should you take? What are the best ones? We're going to talk about that. I'm probably asked this question on LinkedIn maybe like once a month. I get someone pinging me, asking me what program they should go to. I see the question in LinkedIn all the time. I see the question in Facebook and Reddit posted all the time as well. And I wanted to kind of address it because I did a video on like finding the best program, how to find it. But this is like talking about the actual ranking, because when we search this in Google, you can see up on the screen, best instructional design master's programs. I have typed in here in Google. Best online master's programs, and this is called instructional media, which is what US News calls it. I'm going to go and click that link. We're going to look at their methodology. You know, we've got 10 best instructional design master's degrees. Top 20 online. So this one only has 10. This one has 20 top ones. These are the best ones in 2023. Oh, the best 15 in 2022. Here's a question, someone asking it. The 30 best masters in edtech college rank. And there's all these websites like Get Educated, College Rank, and if I keep going and like to see more, there's like tons and tons. Instructional Design Central, the e-learning coach, iSpring. I know iSpring. It's like there's just a bunch that keep popping up as like the best course. And you start to ask yourself, well, like, which one of these lists is right? Because the lists are usually vastly different from one another. And are any of them right? So let's kind of talk about that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you what's known as like the overall like king of ratings, which is US News. And ironically, when I was at Penn State University working on my doctorate, we actually tried to get instructional design ranked in US News. This is like 2006. They turned us down, but they came back and did it like later on, but they had turned us down at the time. We were in contact with them. We talked to US News. We compiled the list of schools for them. We gave them all the information and they said no, but then they came back and did it like 10 years later. But anyway, so if we click this list, and what's very odd, so first of all, US News. So they have the best online masters in education programs offering educational instructional media design. Then they also have best online masters in instructional media programs. Now, I'm not sure what the difference between these two is because the lists are different, but the description of what it actually is the exact same, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I couldn't explain that, but they do. I couldn't tell if they were like maybe like different years, but I didn't see that. One's called instructional media design, one's educational media design, with the same description. Very strange. Okay, so, and what's really even weirder is that the lists of schools are different, even though the description's the same. Maybe someone in the comments can explain that. It really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. I just thought that was very strange. But anyway, so I click on it and I get to this best online programs and I start to go through here and I'm saying, here's where I start finding these lists weird. I'm going through here and I start to say to myself, well, geez, if I'm an instructional design student and I want to be an instructional designer and I wanted to go into corporate, some of the programs that I'm seeing listed here are only geared towards people going into research who really want to go on to the Ph.D. and be faculty. And there are other issues too, but that's just like one issue. And I'm thinking like, well, why are they recommended as the best online master's program? Because our field, remember, our field of instructional design, there are really like 3 types of master's programs you can get. First of all, you have master's in education, master of science. Masters of Ed usually means a degree towards research or K-12 education, whereas Master of Science is usually geared towards practitioners, those going into corporate. And that's not always the case. Those titles are meaningless, but just kind of in general, that's how they are. But the other thing that is odd about our field is that I can say I'm an instructional design master's program, but my program can be geared towards researchers, trying to get students to go to my doctoral program. Or I could have a master's program in instructional design that's literally geared towards teachers in higher ed and ed tech. Or I can have an instructional design program that's all project-based and geared towards getting students to create a portfolio and learning software and going into corporate. So like those are three pretty different programs. And the problem is if you look at this US News ranking, they don't distinguish that whatsoever. But it becomes more problematic. So what I did is I clicked, let's look at the best online programs methodology. So what I did is I looked at the methodology, and I see like this like engagement 30%, faculty credentials and teaching, training 20%, peer assessment 20%, service and technologies 20%, student excellence 10%. But let's break those down and see what they really mean, because they tell you. So first of all, they tell you how they collected data. They gathered a list of online programs and sent it to all the schools. So the first issue that you have with this is that the data is all self-report. Also, our field's very cliquish and and also our field's small and not small. So like there can be really great programs that they either didn't send it to, or like just other programs aren't aware of that are actually the best ones. And this is where this all starts to fall apart, these rankings. Because when you look at the rankings, so engagement, what does that mean? It means the student's graduation rate, which, okay, so one thing I want to point out, I led an instructional design program for 5 years. If someone asked me these questions to rate this kind of stuff, because we would get like these pings from these weird like rating programs all the time, like asking me this stuff, I didn't really know the information. Like, it's not like I have like, what's the graduation rate in my program, like right on hand. Like I don't have that. And like filling out the information for some random survey like this isn't even really part of my job. It's like, I'm just doing it out of my own free will. So maybe I'll take 15 minutes and do it, but like, I'm not researching this stuff. So like, are they just all kind of winging it there? And we've heard some of the rumors from other schools, big schools, that kind of fudge their data a bit, or just maybe didn't know and filled out wrong stuff. But anyway, let's just look at there. So graduation rate, okay, that's important, I guess. Best practices. But when you look at how they define these, it's kind of weird, like class size, 1 year retention rates, time to degree deadline. Okay, that's all important stuff. Student debt, I'd rather see like cost of the program, because what happens is when you look at student indebtedness, a program that is geared towards research is probably going to have tons of grants and be able to pay lots of grad students. However, that doesn't mean their program's any good either. But, I mean, like if you're going into corporate, like you don't even want to go to a research program. So like that's a weird one. Support services for students, technological infrastructure, like do they have like applications for smartphones? Like I would guarantee that programs give themselves a perfect score on this, and they don't offer like students access to Articulate because they might not even know what it is or be teaching it. So like that's an odd one right there too. Peer assessment score, there are many props, so many. I'm not even going to go to this one. I don't want to touch it, but there are a lot of problems with this one. Preparedness to teach distant learners and faculty credentials. So all they're looking at is, are the faculty like trained to teach online? Do the faculty have a terminal degree? That would be like, I don't even know any programs that don't have that really, unless they have adjuncts. And are the faculty tenured? But none of these ask the question, is the faculty trained to be an instructional designer? Like, so if I'm going into corporate instructional design, none of these questions, faculty credentials, asked if the person actually worked in instructional design before ever. Okay. Student excellence. Undergrad GPA, I don't know what that would matter whatsoever. Acceptance rate. Again, a program could accept everyone and be the best program ever because it's just really hard and a great program. So that's where this stuff starts to get a little strange, and that was it. And they have experience here, extent to which work experience and undergraduate coursework are required for admittance. So for our field, there's a lot of career switchers. That could be nothing, and that's it. So that's it. That's how they're ranked. So if you're looking at this list and you're like, I want to be a corporate instructional designer, nothing in that list, not one single thing about this list was geared towards you. Nothing. There wasn't anything geared towards this list in US News. And you start to look at all these other lists, and they don't really, a lot of these don't even have methodologies. It was like one random person that was like, you know what? I'm going to put together a list of these 15 instructional design programs that I've heard of before and say that they're the best ones and kind of rank them. So you can see there are lots and lots of problems with it. So now let's talk about why these are even more problematic than what I've pointed out. So as I mentioned already, instructional design programs, first of all, there's multiple different kinds. Like you can be a research program, a K-12 program, and a corporate program. So ranking these programs becomes very difficult unless you're ranking them by that. The next problem we have is that, first of all, no one knows what all the different programs are out there. Next problem we have is faculty experience. So like, these programs are only as good as the faculty in their program. So like, let's say I leave my program. Whatever value I added is gone when I left. Like, yes, the things that I did to make the program, but like my expertise and my teaching isn't there anymore. So if you're looking at a program and you're like, this person used to teach there, so they're probably a good program. But if they're not there anymore, they're no longer having that influence on the program. And it could have actually changed 100% when that person left. It could be a totally different program. So we have this faculty experience. And one of the things I tell people is when you're looking for an ID program, make sure that the people teaching have some kind of background that you're looking for. For example, and I keep using corporate because that's my background and that's what I know. But like, if I want to go into corporate instructional design, what I want to look for is a program where on the professor's resume, or if I'm looking at instructional design course, the person teaching it has actually had corporate experience, and not just like an internship here and there. I mean, like they really worked for companies, and did they show like promotion at those companies too? Like I see some promotions on there, and like they were actually really in the field. Like that's pretty important. None of these rankings take that into consideration whatsoever. Next thing you've got, jobs and alumni base. Not even considered in the rankings. What kind of jobs are the students getting? How much are they getting paid? And what's that alumni network look like? Because I'll tell you what, a program that has an alumni network of 20 years with like students working at Microsoft, Amazon, Google, health insurance firms, this and that, should be ranked much higher than a program that doesn't have that, because it's really important. I can tell you, like when I led my program, that like alumni base hired so many students, they would come back. So like, it's super important to examine that. It's not in any of the rankings. I can't figure that out. And the other thing is, are the courses even geared towards your goals? Like if your goal is to be an instructional design corporate person, and you go to an instructional design master's program that's geared towards research, you might be taking like quantitative research class, qualitative research class, intro to statistics, which I would argue that course is important no matter what. But regardless, what I'm saying is you might not be taking courses in Articulate or Captivate. You might not be taking courses that teach you Camtasia. You might not be even taking like how to be instructional design course, like what is the field. It might just be all theoretical and all research based. And so like you don't have all these projects, you don't develop a portfolio, there's no internship, and like you're not ready for a job. Because I see lots of people posting on these groups, they're like, hey, I got my master's and I don't feel prepared. The reason you don't feel prepared is because you went to a program that wasn't geared towards what your goals were. And if you don't go to a program that's going to meet your goals, of course you're not going to feel prepared. So you've got to do your research there. And that's where you go to look at my video or someone else's video, how to find a good master's program, and find one that's good for you. But match up your goals. Like if your goal is to be a faculty member, I would tell you to go to the research program, go find faculty who their focus is publishing and grants, and be taught by them how to do that. But if your goal is to go be a corporate instructional designer, that program's not for you. You've got to look at the faculty, ask about all these kind of questions, like who are the alumni? Where are they working? How much do they make? Let me talk to one of the alumni. Are the classes project-based? Do I have a portfolio? All that kind of good stuff. Let me see the professors' resumes. Let me see where they worked. All that kind of good stuff that you've got to see. And that's why these rankings are very problematic. And I understand that even makes it more challenging for you. But my advice is these ratings are completely meaningless. I really wouldn't pay any attention to them whatsoever. Even if my program was first on there, I'm telling you the same thing. Don't pay attention to them. They're 100% meaningless. You got to do the research yourself to find out where you should be going. And if you want my advice, if you send me that email, what school should I go to? Here's what I'm going to tell you. Look in your state, see how much your local state schools cost because they're probably the most cost effective, and find one of them that meets your goals. And if that doesn't happen, then start to branch out further. But you got to figure out, like, know yourself and your goals first, and then start researching schools and contacting them, looking at their website and finding out all the information. I will not tell people a list of schools. I will not tell them if a program is good or not. Now, I can tell them if my program is good or not because I know it and I know what the program's like. I can tell you about the programs where I graduated from too because I still keep up with those professors, talk to them, and I've been in their programs and know what they're like. But I can't tell you what the program's like somewhere else. All right, everybody. I'd love to hear comments on this because I know this is probably like a hot topic for some people. Let me know what you all think. Later, everybody.